much of your time. We don't want to take too much of your time under any circumstance. So thank you once again for being here. It's great to have you all here. I've been doing a couple of webinars, and it's great once again to have everybody here. So ISO actually has a couple of standards uh, for innovation management. And this, so you know, when you're thinking about ISO standards, it's not just talking about innovation, should I say, generally. It's putting a management structure around innovation management. And this is important, and it is essential for anybody who wants to get this right in their own organization. And I think this is the best time. This is the beginning of the fourth quarter for the year. So everybody needs to start to really think about what are you going to do differently in your line of work, in your business, as you go into 2024. What are you going to change, and what is it that you're going to do differently as you go into 2024? So these are very important things that I do think that all of us should be very mindful of. So this is the standard. They've actually put out the guidance document before the actual standard in itself. The standard is still in draft form, but there's the guidance document, and organizations can get certified or attested to relative to how well they are driving innovation management in their own organization. One of my colleagues, Bodun, was trying to create AI versions of me. I'm not sure the man on the right that he has created looks anything like me. That guy looks like some kind of bouncer. So I don't know how my own AI ended up in this in this form. But yeah, he was trying to muck around saying that this is what my AI version. So he used AI on two different pictures, and this is what it is that I'm trying to come out. And I know that for a lot of people, when you speak to them about innovation, the first thing that comes to the mind of everybody is artificial intelligence. Well, artificial intelligence is not the only way, manner, and approach by which organizations can do can innovate. So it just can't be artificial intelligence. There is still the normal innovation around what you should do, how you should change what you're doing, how you might want to look at a different approach. And there is a nice book that I have gained a lot from over the years that talks about the 10 types of innovation. I'm going to speak about a portion of that as part of this as we go on in this particular session. So once again, it's great to have everybody here. When I was talking to somebody, first thing he said AI. I said, but there's some businesses that, you know, they're not that, should I say, they're not that sophisticated. Technology is not is not the only thing that is a concern for them. So AI is definitely great, but it's not all about AI. So, but I do think any smart, sensible organization definitely needs to think about artificial intelligence and how it helps your own organization, and in what area are you going to innovate using artificial intelligence. Once again, it's not the only area, it's not the only line of innovation, and this is not even an artificial intelligence webinar. Neither do I even consider myself an artificial intelligence expert. Apart from the typical ones I've used, I mean, of course, everybody uses ChatGPT for one thing or the other. The other thing is, of course, Microsoft has got a couple of tools on Azure that helps to do certain types of artificial intelligence within a certain context. But in no form, fashion, or manner do I consider myself an artificial intelligence expert, as the case may be, and it's not really the focus of this conversation. Nevertheless, you can't have this kind of meeting. You can't be talking about innovation in 2023 going into 2024 without you saying something about artificial intelligence. So pretty much that's as much AI that I'm going to speak on this particular platform. So maybe I should hear from everybody that is on the call for starters. So everybody, let's go to the chat room. Maybe that's a great place to start. Just do a quick introduction of yourself and tell me, is AI for your own organization or for your business? How important is AI in reality? So I don't want you to, because recently somebody was talking to me about AI. So, and the person didn't even know anything about AI. And I was just laughing when the person kept talking about AI. I'm like, I'm in IT, right? This is my line of work. I've even done AI tied to CRM and a couple of things, and I've reviewed it for different organizations. But you're just talking about it from a newspaper perspective. So everybody, let's go into the chat room. Let me quickly read from everybody before we go ahead. A quick introduction of yourself and how important Hitman Dr. How will give me a percentage in terms of importance of AI to innovation in your own organization. Give me a percentage. Everybody, quickly, chat room, quick. Let's do this in 1 minute. Can I hear from everybody? Right? Can I hear from everybody? How important? Just give me a percentage. You can introduce yourself and give me a percentage, or you can just give me your percentage to say that this is how much I think AI is important to my own organization from a percentage perspective. Everybody, quickly. Nobody is on the chat in the chat room. Can I hear from everybody, please, very quickly in the chat room, quickly? Okay. How important is AI with regards to innovation in your own organization? Can I get 1 or 2 people? All right, thank you very much. Kenna says, okay, for your own organization, 98%. Wow. Okay. Okay, PGB says 75. Okay. All right, any other person? Kenna says, Kenna, it's great to have you here. Again, says 98%. Jimmy, it's great to have you here also. He says 80%. Are you sure? That is a lot. Wow. Okay, 80% too. Mohammed, it's great to have you here. So you think in your own organization, AI is going to be okay? Dr. Kira is saying maybe about 40%. Right? I mean, because honestly, I think it's probably going to be about, I don't know, maybe I'm a bit, because I understand what AI is and I know its limitations. I know what it can do in a certain organization, and I think people have their hopes are overly, should I say, off the roof in terms of what AI can do. And I also have seen that some people don't really understand even the amount of effort, time, energy, and resources it will take to get AI to add value to your business. And some organizations that talk about AI, I'm not really sure that their businesses even have the resources to do these things as it is. And even if they do have those resources, I'm not sure it will give them the value that they're looking for in the short term. I'm not sure. Shegun Aledari, thank you. I mean, it says 50%. Honestly, if you ask me, I think about 40 to 50% is what I think, right? I think it's just about that 40 to 50% mark, so to speak, in terms of that direct applicability of artificial intelligence in a lot of industries. Once again, doing AI is not cheap. It's not a cheap endeavor. And we're not talking about using AI to do presentations and chat GPT and those kinds of things. I'm talking about the AI really contributing to the bottom line in your own organization as it is. So I think, as I said, that 50% mark is the kind of thing that I have at the back of my mind. So it's great. Thank you very much, everybody, for answering. Once again, I don't think, I mean, this whole meeting is not about artificial intelligence, really. So it's just one of the things that I know that everywhere, when everybody's thinking and talking about artificial intelligence or talking about innovation, that entire conversation of AI comes in. So once again, this is a standard. It's an ISO standard around innovation. And it's critical and it's important that you think about your own organization. I will show you a book in a bit The book is called The 10 Types of Innovation. It's a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant book. I think that it contains some key concepts, practical concepts, I must say, practical concepts that your organization or you as an individual that you might really want to think about, and how these things can help one way or the other, so to speak. And as I said, they say innovate or die, right? That's what people say, that it's either you innovate or you die, like your company completely disappears. And once again, that's why that book, 10 Types of Innovation, is very useful, because it tells you the many areas in which you can innovate. But we'll get there. So, but as you and I, as we go into 2024, some of you are business leaders, some of you are on becoming big or great business leaders in your own rights, as it is. You really need to start to think about innovation. And the standard, the good thing about the standard is that it looks at both what I can say, the governance of innovation. Innovation cannot be done anyhow. Innovation cannot be done without thinking about the risks attached to it. Innovation cannot be done without you really looking at how much is it going to cost you? Is it going to deliver value? Is it going to hit the bottom line? You've got to do innovation within a governed, should I say, governed parameters. There must be some governance around how you're thinking about innovation. There must be some smart governance around how you're thinking about innovation. And that's what this standard looks at, and it encourages everybody to innovate in one way or the other, whether you're innovating with regards to a process, or you're innovating with regards to a product or a service, or you're innovating with regards to a channel. There are many, many ways by which you can get your innovation done. And of course, if you get innovation done properly, it helps you. It does help. A lot of organizations are innovating around how they're doing governance, risk, and compliance. There's a client that I'm working with now, and if you look at how they are thinking about governance, risk, and compliance in their organization, they are really thinking broadly. They're thinking more than normal. One of my friends, he heads Google for a certain portion of Europe. He heads Google for a Google product line for a certain portion of Europe, and he's based out of the UK. And he was telling me around how they are innovating. And it's very weird because, he was telling me that the amount of growth they've had over the last 3 years from COVID till now, and they are Google products and Google Cloud. And so AWS is recording like out of this world type growth in UK and some parts of Europe. Azure is recording, and even Google is also recording growth. So he says that all of them, they're irrespective of whether they're number 1, number 2, number 3, or number 4, that all of them are experiencing growth across different perspectives, and everybody has their own growth model and how they're innovating around sales, how they're innovating around marketing, how they're innovating around many things. So your innovation as an organization cannot be, should I say, unique perspective. You can't take one perspective looking at innovation. You've got to look at innovation broadly speaking. Cost reduction. Some people are innovating around finance. Some people are innovating around HR. Some people are innovating around their business continuity. Some people are innovating around how they're doing their recruitment. So there are many perspectives and many ways by which you can look at innovation. But if you do get innovation right, the idea is that these 10 benefits, everybody, these 10 benefits, your organization should be able to reap these benefits if you innovate appropriately. Some people are innovating around onboarding. A lot of companies are innovating around how they do training and capacity development. If you're in Nigeria, Ghana, some of these countries, you will, in West Africa, you will know that there is something called JAPA. I thought JAPA was only in Nigeria, but now I was in Accra last week, and I know that JAPA is also beginning to hit Ghana. There is a lot of JAPA that you're seeing. This year is more than last year. Last year was more than the year before. even one or two people that might be on this call are people who were in Ghana 2 years ago, even last year, but they've also jackpot this year. So everybody's got to really go back and not just go back parroting AI. I mean, we're not talking about newspaper gist or the channel television or Arise conversation around general broad conversation around AI. We're talking about how you get innovation done in your own organization. So once again, one of the things this standard brings into place is the conversation around your principles for innovation. So it tells you that you as an organization or your organization should think about the principles around innovation. So that can include how you realize value, how leadership, and I mean, there's always a portion of this whole thing that talks about leadership and their commitment to artificial intelligence, leadership and their commitment to artificial intelligence or to innovation, so to speak. So culture is an issue, having a strategic direction. How will innovation truly help? I've also seen where people are innovating just for the sake of innovation, like they just want to innovate. It's not like they really have right. Okay, it's not like they really want to innovate, but it's not like they're thinking about what their business will get. So they just want to do innovation for innovation's sake, and the innovation is not in line with the strategic direction of the organization. Another thing that kills innovation is culture, and you should go and get that book. Culture eats a strategy for breakfast, and then somebody else said that culture eats a strategy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or something like that. Culture is strong. Culture is about the people, and culture is not what you have written down. Culture is what the people truly act out, the way and the manner by which people truly act out culture is what culture is. So this also kills or determines the life of innovation in an organization, and of course, all sorts of insights. Well, people like buzzwords in IT, and I always enjoy it when I'm hearing things, people talking about big data and how they want to use big data to drive their business. And the first thing that comes to mind is that, Chairman, you're not even using small data to drive your business yet. Your organization has data from your core banking, from your CRM, from your payroll, from your HR application, from your support platform, to many other things that you've not even been able to harness and put together and derive insights from it. Your business intelligence and enterprise data warehouse and your dashboarding is questionable. You're not there yet. And now you're not talking about how you want to derive insights from big data. You need to start with small data. You need to make sense of small data because that's your internal data will give you a lot of insight into buying patterns, into historical behavior, transaction behavior, and all sorts of things, profitability at the product level. You need to do that first before you start to follow trends and then start to also parrot things that people are saying in the newspapers and on TV as it is. One of my friends runs a tailoring outfit, and now he's one of the people that I know that he's doing so much with his artificial intelligence, from how they take measurements, to how they do the modeling, to how they fit it on body shapes, to everything. Like literally, it's almost like you get like an artificial version of the cloth you want to get before you get the real cloth in itself. Because he's a very advanced tailor. He's based in Nigeria as it is, but I've seen the work that they do, and I know that, okay, so they have all sorts of softwares that they use for all sorts of industrial what's that thing? Industrial cloth making that they do. So you really have to think about this. Of course, managing risk or uncertainty is also important. You cannot innovate at the detriment of the organization. So you have to think about the various risks from different areas. And finally, is how your organization is going to adapt. So if you're going to be embracing this particular standard, you have to first embrace the principles upon which the standard in itself is built. And the recommendation from the standard is that organizations who are doing innovation should think about these 7 things. How will innovation add value? What is the state of mind of the leaders? You can't innovate beyond, everything rises and falls on leadership is what they say. You can't innovate beyond the leaders, your strategy, your culture, insights from existing data sets, how you're managing uncertainty, and how you plan to adapt. Let me move on quickly. I'm very mindful of time. I'll just go through this very quickly. Of course, for every ISO standard, there's always something called Plan, Do, Check, Act. Plan your innovation activities, do the things you've said you will do, monitor them, and then further act on them and improve them as it is. So that's the typical concept in every ISO standard. Plan your improvements, plan your innovations, think about the risks around them as part of your planning, do the things you said you will do, check, review them, audit them, review them appropriately, and finally act on them, right? So our ISO standards are usually made up of what we call clauses 4 to 10. 4 talks about the context of the organization, 5 is leadership, 6 is planning, 7 is support, 8 is operations, 9 is continual improvement. 9 is performance evaluation, and 10 is continual improvement. So if you're thinking about innovation management, there's some things you need to set your goals. You need to ensure that adequate cooperation from the right place or places. You have to evaluate the ideas. Not every innovation should go live. Not every innovation should even be approved. Innovations are like opportunities for improvements in an organization. So as part of risk management, risk has got 2 parts to it. There is the threat, which is the negative, and then there's opportunity management. Now, that opportunity in that instance can be innovative ideas. But just because you have an innovative idea does not mean it's going to get approved. It might cause a risk, it might not add value, it might not add to the bottom line, it might cost too much to do. Could be all sorts of things. The other thing also is the testing of your innovation. And it's weird because, I was telling somebody that we're talking about something recently, and I was saying that you and I should give ourselves a break when some of the things we do as entrepreneurs, as managers, when they don't work appropriately. We should cut ourselves some slack, so to speak. I said even Procter & Gamble and GSK and Nestle, they still have failed products. As big as Cadbury is, as big as those institutions are, Unilever, they still have products that don't do well in the marketplace. As big as Dangote is, not all its business lines are successful. So you need to spend a lot of time on testing because you really want to ensure that before you go to market, before you do a lot of advertisement. Somebody was talking about products that one of those big manufacturing companies have spent in millions of dollars to promote, and it never kicked off, it never really happened as it is. So that's a big deal. And then, of course, you need to keep reviewing your innovation life cycle as it is. I'll move on very quickly. Once again, many things to think about as part of your innovation process. What is the opportunity? What is your concept? And then, what we talk about in business analysis, we call it VIVA, verification and validation. Verification and validation. We talk about that when we're speaking about when we're doing business analysis. So you need to verify and to validate before you develop and you deploy. So I worked with a couple of fintechs, and some of them are really innovating. The challenge with most fintechs and small organizations is that they don't have a solid business model. That's the challenge that I've seen. And I'm certain that I worked with maybe 30 or 40 more fintechs between East Africa and West Africa. The biggest challenge, and even in the US, the biggest challenge is that most fintechs, they operate by a weird concept. Oh, if people are downloading or people are subscribing, that means the product is doing well. It doesn't necessarily, that's not necessarily going to translate into money. And then that old concept of advertising money, a lot of people will download and then you get a lot of advertising money, is not always working. And that's why most of the fintechs, they're very good at innovation, but they don't have a strong, validated business model. Something that you're certain that, people do need this. This ties into a need for people. It could be an emotional need, it could be whatever kind of need, so to speak, and then you're going to be able to generate value out of it. And of course, investors in fintechs are also a different bunch of people. A guy with $100,000 is willing to put $10,000 in 10 places, knowing that, you know, one big one, you will get his $100,000 back in multiple folds. So it's a different model, and I just don't think that most of the fintechs and new payment companies, that they have a strong business model. Of course, I might be wrong, just my opinion from the things that I have seen from working with about 20 or 30 of about 30 or 40 of different fintech organizations as it is. So I won't bore you too much with some of these things. It's, of course, I mean, the standard is great. People need to be trained on innovation. You can't just innovate anyhow or however it is that you want it. You have to think about sustained innovation, right? Sustained innovation, or should I say sustained success from the innovation or innovative activities. And government institutions can innovate. Different entities can innovate, and it's important that people get this right. So this is the standard that I will advise that people that they adopt, that they think about as part of their work. Once again, the standard is always broken into 7 parts. Number 1 says your innovation has to fit the context. It must fit your own SWOT, fit your own PESO, fit your own business model canvas, fit your own balance scorecard. So because the challenge is that people want to go and pick the innovation that they've seen that somebody else has done, and they just want to slap it on. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it does not work. So you've got to really think about the context of your own organization. You've got to think about your own internal and external stakeholders, because you've got 2 categories of stakeholders, the internal ones and the external ones. And what do they want? What do they need? I was having a meeting with one of our sales teams in our training business earlier today, and I was saying to them that they do their marketing. I see some of the things that they do. They write, they do all sorts of things. They do flyers, they do marketing on Instagram, they pay for all sorts. And I was telling them that they do they approach the individual market like they're approaching corporate organizations, and that the clients are different, the messaging should be different, the channel might even be different. So, you know, if you're doing Gen Z, your product is for Gen Z, the way Gen Z thinks about things, the channels that they use, you can't be doing Gen Z and you're not doing TikTok. They won't even see you. Now, I mean, my children installed TikTok on my phone, and I could not wait for them to go back to school, and I just completely uninstalled it. I don't even understand I don't even get Snapchat. Like, I don't get it. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So if you're going to be getting the attention of certain people, you really have to understand what it is that you're doing. And that's what this context of the organization means. And you must have a scope for your innovation. And you also need to ensure that there is a life cycle. That's what so every organization needs to have what we call the innovation management system as it is. I move on very quickly. Leadership is also a big issue. You know, there's an organization. In fact, I see it in many places. The leadership is the clog in the wheel. The leadership in themselves, they are the clog in the wheel. And when we were doing corporate governance with one, I think it was with Faith Foundation, that we're doing some workshops some months ago, we're saying that, see, because you started an organization, maybe like myself, does not mean that you should keep running it, because you might just not be able to change or innovate enough, or be able to see things from a different perspective. And so because you started it does not mean that you should be life MD, life CEO, or whatever, life chairman. Because some of those organizations, their inability to innovate is what is killing them. And I see these things, and it's leadership, right? You know, once again, you know what they say, everything rises and falls on leadership. And so leaders need to, so we're saying that organizations need to see that, and maybe at some point in time, maybe I'm just not going to be the right CEO at some point in time to take the organization that I lead to the next level. That's a reality I have to be able to face. So, and maybe part of my commitment is to get out of the way of the people who truly understand how to innovate in a certain generation, for a certain time. You know, the sons of Issachar, they knew the times and the seasons. And that is very important. You really understand the times and the season. And of course, here it says you should also have an innovation policy, and we should put the right, give the right roles and responsibilities to the right people. Put what's that thing they say? Square pegs and round holes, or whatever. Round holes and square pegs, or something along in something along those lines as it is. So leadership is key, and that leadership might not mean that they're the ones who can also help to drive or support innovation. And if leadership is not, if they're not in charge, then they need to get out of the way. I've seen a lot of CEOs, I've seen people like myself, founders, who then become the biggest hindrance to growth and even sustainability for their own organizations. This is the same diagram. I won't spend too much time on this. We've talked about some of these things. Quickly, planning is big. The risks around innovation and innovation objectives and the plans that need to be put in place to achieve them. The objectives for innovation and the plans that need to be put in place to achieve them. And of course, we also talk about organizational structures. Do you have a structure? I mean, innovation can only thrive within a certain kind of organization or structure. And if you are a traditional company, you're very structured, then most likely innovation will die. And that's why you see that in some organizations, these days, I've seen that especially in banking and all that, they will almost want to spin out a different department, a different unit, a different subsidiary. They even change the rules for those ones because they want to innovate, and they've seen that they cannot innovate within their existing structure. I've seen that in our own organization, where I just know that, you know what, if we really want to get something right, we literally have to go to start a new entity, otherwise we won't get it. Like, you know, maybe we're too steeped in our traditional line of work, the traditional way by which we've been making money, and it's obvious that we just won't be able to get it right. So we spin off something else and give it its own leadership and let it drive itself. And we try not to stand in the way so that they can get it right. So structures are very important. And then, of course, you also have to think about your portfolio of innovation. So once again, when we get to the 10 types of innovation, we'll look at that very quickly. And standard also talks about many things that you should have in place if you're going to get innovation right. So resources, people, time, knowledge, finance, awareness, competence, many things, tools, method, even called something strategic intelligence management and intellectual property. So there are many, many things that you need to have if you're going to get innovation right. There are many things you will need to have if you're going to get innovation right as an organization. And so that's why he talks about these kinds of support, the supporting infrastructure, the amount of money, the amount of knowledge, the amount of time, the skills and competence of people, awareness for all the stakeholders, how you manage documentation, and how you even manage your copyrights and patents and things like that when it comes to this. And then, of course, innovation is a thing. That's why we talk about plan, do. A lot of people think about innovation, they plan innovation, but they never do it. So here it really talks about that's your innovative idea. How is it going to move into operation? It's almost like, how is it going to go live? How do we release it so that the customers start to use it, whether internal customers or external customers? It could be either way. It could be internal customers. It could be external customers. And we've got to really think about it appropriately if we're going to get this right as an organization. So is this your innovation? What are the initiatives? What is the process? And how do you go about it in itself? Number 9 here, which is according to the standard also, is that, you know, they say that if it can't be measured, then it cannot be improved upon. If something cannot be measured, then it cannot be improved upon. So you've got to be able to measure innovation. Is it working? Is it really working? All right, and that's important. And then you need to get an external view of innovation, an external opinion of innovation, an external view, an external thoughts, an external opinion of innovation. And management also needs to review these innovative ideas. Is it working? We have some innovation on a learning platform, something that we're working on. And one of the things we had a meeting yesterday is that, is it really working? What do we need to change? Because when we looked at some of the metrics and the measurements around it, they're like, this is not working. It's not bringing the revenue. We're bleeding. We're too much outflow in comparison to the inflow tied to the innovative idea. Timing is also a thing. How long before we should start to hit our first million? How long before we start to hit 10 million? So this is a huge conversation. I'm happy that the people on the call that you've been able to make it, but this is a board and executive management conversation. Because if you don't innovate, you will not be there in the future. That's the God honest truth. If you're not innovating, you will not be there into the future. So the board should be worried if you're not innovating. Executives should be worried if you're not innovating. Without innovation, you will not, and you might even need to disappear faster than you thought in itself. So, because finally, it's about improvement. This whole conversation is about improvements in products, improvements in people, improvements in the services, improvements in internal processes. So those are the 10 areas when it comes to innovation management. And I do think that the standard is great. I think that corporate organizations really need to be having these kinds of these kinds of meetings and conversations. Almost every bank and even telco, they have a unit called improvement, or people name that unit differently. And all of them, their job and their responsibility is to ensure that innovation gets done. So that's key. All right, so that's it with part one. Part two of this conversation is this book. I have this book. I've had it for a while. I have I wouldn't say I've read it cover to cover, but I have consulted it for different things at different times, just trying to get thoughts and ideas around how innovation should be done. Ideally, I probably should have contacted Larry Kinney to come on the call, but yeah, maybe I'll do another session and he'll be there as it is. So Maureen, please take note of that. So, but this is the key thing, right? Everybody, and if you don't get anything, right? If there's one slide you want to take a screenshot and go back to ruminate about it, to think about it, and to plan around it, it is this slide. And why I like it is that it's looking at 10 different areas by which you can innovate. This is a big deal because normally you and I only think about innovation tied to maybe product, service, right? And maybe processes, maybe. But here, it's looking at 10 different areas. And I think anybody planning for 2024 should take a page like this seriously. I think anybody thinking and planning for 2024 for their own organization, for their business, for their department, you should really think, you should consider this very deeply, as the case may be, right? You should consider it very deeply, right? And in no particular order. I mean, look at brand, for example, right? Right? So the question for you to go away with here is, how are you going to innovate around your brand? All right, I've got many slides that explain it, but I'm not going to go through all the slides. We're just going to look at this and we're going to talk about it, right? And maybe so that we can follow it sequentially, let's start from maybe number one. The way by which, and I have been running the business for a long time, at least I have done about 21 years of running a business formally. So I understand how for a certain period of time, we think our profit is going to come from somewhere, whereas our profit will come from somewhere else. And it's important that you understand the difference between your revenue and the profit. And I always talk about this because I have suffered this in my lifetime, where I just assume that 100 million is money, and I might end up with that entire revenue of 100 million, and I might struggle to even pay my taxes on that amount of revenue. And I've suffered from this significantly the clear line between the revenue we're making and the profit. And so the idea here is for you to think about both your revenue model and your profit model. And I know that most places, everybody is always talking about, I mean, I sit with loads of fintechs, sit on webinars, sit on meetings, and everybody's always talking about your revenue model. But you can make revenue and the company is still going to close down. I can promise you that. I have experienced that in my life. Made revenue, but still close the company down. So it's not just for you to think about your revenue model, it's really for you also to think about your profit model. Okay, so so you have to think about how am I going to make a profit, because we pay salaries using profit, we pay rent using profit, we buy cars and service cars using profit, not revenue. Revenue is not all that matters, because at the end of the day, we only spend profit. And that's why fintechs are very interesting. They don't look at things like this, profit, they will focus more on the revenue. But I'll look at it and I'm like, dude, your tax liability is about 10%. So if you're making 6, 7, 8, 9% or 10, you're still at the level whereby you will be able to pay your taxes. And then we're not even talking about all the associated costs. So once again, it's very easy for you to make $10 million and not even get any profit. Like, people don't understand that because they don't run the business. But some people on this call clearly understand you can make $10 million easily, and you might not even declare profit. So everybody and every organization needs to go back and really think about its profit model. That how do I make a profit from what it is? After all expenses, I mean, somebody can work for 100 years in Shell or Mobil or work in a bank and still not really understand this, because this is about POL. This is about your POL, the profit or your loss. I mean, you know, the IFRS people have changed it from profit and loss to profit or loss. That it must be one of them, right? Number 2 here talks about your network, right? And that network is talking about the multiple channels by which you interact. So you can contrast number 2, everybody, with number 8. Right? So you know what they call, you know, the procurement people will call it supply chain, right? So we're not talking about just the channel by which you will dispense, or the channels by which you will support, or the channels by which you will communicate. Channels is there, number 8. So you can decide on social media, and even within social media, that's a big deal. There's something we're trying to do in the UK, and we just found out that the most important social media channel is Twitter, not any other thing, for that particular product that and service that we're trying to push in the UK. If we miss Twitter, we've wasted all our time. Not Instagram, not Facebook, not LinkedIn, not any of those ones. Primarily Twitter. The following we need is on Twitter. So channels is a different conversation. Channels, you can talk about telephone, your website, your social media platform. And in this modern day, I mean, people say that offices are no longer necessary, but offices are still a big deal for certain people, depending on the kind of product or a combination of channels. That is channel conversation, is different from the network. Network in this instance is talking about both internal and external channels in such a way that there's almost like a chain. So if I was the one who developed this model, for number 2, I would have called the network and put a bracket, the chain, the end-to-end chain of activities by which you interact with your customers. And there's something that we do in those days when I used to spend all my time implementing CRM, that now I spend my time reviewing CRMs, not implementing them. In those days, there is something we used to call the customer journey or customer life cycle. All the way from how do you make contact with them, how do you record their contact, how do you turn contacts into leads, leads into opportunities, opportunities into sales, sales into account management, and customer service, and how do you get, should I say, repeat customers. So we're talking about the entire network. What are the channels end to end? The channels that the guys who are thinking about the product, the channels around the people who are getting product feedback, the channels are the people, marketing channels, sales channels. Because each of those things that I have said might require a different channel. So that's what the network is about. Number three, once again, is about your organizational structure. Everybody says, oh, we use a flat structure, but you find out that our structures are not as flat as we say that they are. So there's still a chain of command in most organizations. There's still some chain of command. So structure is very important. What is an effective structure? What is a structure that is not effective? What are the reporting lines? You know, somebody was saying that, oh, application development still comes back to good old application development practices. That when people say agile, once again, we're not talking about the throwing words around. I mean, that's not our objective, because I always tell people that how do you do agile? How can the development company can be agile internally? That is your client agile? So I said, okay, so if I'm going to deploy a product, right? The typical bank in Africa, Ghana, Nigeria, wherever, you go to meet the head and tell them that I'm going to give you a CRM or an HR application. The HR application has got 5 modules, right? It's got recruitment, it's got biodata, it's got compensation, it's got leave, and performance management. So you go to meet the head and tell him the head of Mr. Head of HR. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the agile approach. We're going to go live first with recruitment, and 1 month after or 2 months after, we will then go live with payroll and this. What will the typical African director of HR tell you? He will tell you, I can tell you what he will tell you. He'll be like, dude, how long is it going to take for you to bring everything in? He says it's going to take us 6 months or 8 months. He'll be like, can you go and bring everything back at the end of 8 months? I don't want to even explain to the business that we're sorry, sir. We only have what's this thing called? We only have recruitment now. Payroll is coming, and 2 months after, performance management will come. So most clients, how do you deliver agile core banking? How do you have what's that thing called? How do you have the feature set rolled out gradually over time? We don't work like that in Africa. Most clients, I mean, this is for real. I've led the Microsoft Go Partner Company I did it for almost 15 years, doing BI and Microsoft Exchange and CRM and all sorts of platforms. So most people, when you're saying these things to them, they're looking at you like, you must be kidding. So you can't deliver agile to a client that does not want to be agile. You can be agile internally in terms of how you work in your own organization, but as a service provider, the client themselves must have a mental state to accept something in phases before you can say that it will happen. But that's conversation for another day. I brought that up because of number 3. Because your structure will either make or mar you. In fact, some people say there's a guy who does adverts on management courses that he sells that. For him, he says structure is the most important thing. I don't think so, but I do that. I know that structure is very important. So you have to think about innovation around structure in your own organization. The next one is process. For me, this is probably my favorite, because I am of the opinion that everything is a process. I mean, I tell clients, I say to them that an organization is just a bunch of people and processes. That's primarily what it is. You know, a company is made up of departments. Departments are made up of units. Units are made up of processes, and people operate to those things. I used to argue before now that people or process is more important, but I kind of agree now. Somebody has convinced me that people are more important. But if people is number 1, automatically process is number 2. And I always tell people, as you go, if your organization is not a global power, it's because the process is broken. A marketing process, a sales process, a branding process, a strategy process, a financial reconciliation process. The reason why you're not number 1 in West Africa or the whole of Africa is because one of your processes is broken. Maybe it's your board of governance process. Maybe it's your publicity process. But that's why you're not number 1 across the whole of Africa. Something is broken in your organization. So for me, the biggest area for innovation is process. But once again, that's my personal opinion. But I think all the 10 of them are very important. Product performance is also good. And I like the way they put it here. There is the performance of the product, and then there is the makeup of the product, which is the product system. All the elements that make up the product and how you can innovate around all the elements that make up the product versus how well the functionality of the product in itself, right? And the product can be, the functionality can just be for appealing, for it to be appealing to the eyes. There might be some aesthetical value to it. It could, whatever that performance measure is. But these are the areas that you really need to start to think about. Should it be more functional than beautiful? Should it be more beautiful than functional? You have to think about Hondas, you have to think about Toyotas, you have to think about American cars, which it didn't used to be very beautiful. Somebody will say that in those days, when you go buy something like a Ford, like, you know, the engine is going to literally almost work forever, but it never has that, you know, beautiful look to it. So for your own organization, you have to go back and think about your product, the performance of the product on one hand. You also have to think about the makeup of the product. Once again, for some people, it's a product. For some people, it's about service. And for a lot of people, it's a combination of both. It's a combination of the product and the associated services. And that's why some companies are very big on customer support and those kinds of things. They're selling the product, but they're big on all the other things that surround that particular product. How you do the marketing, how you onboard customers, how you deliver the products to them, how you support them, listen to their complaints and their challenges, replacements, and all those other supporting services. Some organizations, we run a training company. Our training company only provides services. We run an audit company. We only provide services. But for some people, they do a combination of products and services. A combination. And once again, that's important for you to go back and ask yourself, how do you want to innovate? Which of this innovation mechanism is the most important for your department, for your organization, for your line of work? We've talked about channels. I also think number 9 is big. I think one of the biggest problems we have in Africa is our brand. Nigeria as a country, Ghana as a country, how do we develop a better international brand? I go everywhere, and sometimes people give me, especially when it comes to services, I look at the services they offer to me in some of the things we do in the UK. It could be an accounting service, and I'm like, but there's way better people who do this particular thing in Lagos or in Accra. That are much better people who would do. I look at one time we were doing, I went for something, it was around project management in the UK, and I'm like, this guy that like, on my phone, I know 20, 30 people who would do much better project management than this person. So, but we don't have a brand that says that. So you can have a great product, you can have a great service, but you don't have a great brand. People don't associate great quality with your brand, but the product is good, the service is good, which is the problem of most African companies. They might have great products, they might have great people, they might have great the services, but they don't have a great brand. Their brand is falling behind when you compare what they do with what others do. And lastly, here is once again, that entire customer engagement life cycle. I spent I've spent so much of my time doing CRM in those days. I can never do that again. I'm too uninterested in those kinds of things. But you know, and in working on the CRM, one of the things you see is that it's this customer life cycle. The life cycle from how you do the marketing, our website, social media, company brochures and those kinds of things, where we attend physical events, our business cards, the stand we take at different events, and things like that. There is African Trade, something that is going to be happening in Egypt in another 3-4 weeks. I hope I'll be there. But you will see that your organization is doing some things to attract customers. But After getting all those contacts, the people have given you their business cards, they made a request, they've liked something. What is the next thing? How do you convert contacts into leads? And because you have contacts does not mean that it's automatically equal to leads, because you have to validate the contact to really be certain around the leads. Then how do you convert leads to opportunities where you know that the opportunity will actually deliver value? And how do you convert the opportunities to sale? I was working with one of our sales managers, and I'm like, dude, see, you can't keep showing me 20, 30, 40, 50 leads or opportunities. And you keep saying month in, month out, 60%, 60%, 70%. When is 70% going to materialize into sales? So the activity to take you from contact to leads, leads to opportunities, opportunities to a sale. One of our managers, that's the problem. He's got loads of opportunities, but he doesn't know how to convert them into a sale. And then from a sale, how do you support the customers? And how do you do account management? And how do you manage them for upselling and cross-selling? I mean, and once again, I did this for maybe 15 years. I started with Commence CRM, the Microsoft CRM. I think I also did Salesforce. I mean, so for me, these things are entrenched somewhere in my brain. And I know that many things happen in terms of that customer engagement, the negotiation points, the invoice points, the proposal points, the presentation points, the product demo points across the entire chain. And once you break it somewhere in there, then there's a problem. And if you don't do customer service well, though you want the client the first time, you don't get the opportunity to turn them into an account and the opportunity to upsell and cross-sell them. You don't get the opportunity to build in a referral system. Ladies and gentlemen, for me, this is the crux of this whole thing. And if you adopt the standard without thinking about this, you'd have only done 50% of what it is that you need to do. You need to adopt the standard, but you also need to really think about how do you do innovation in your organization relative to these 10 things. So I want everybody to go to the chat room, if you don't mind, if you're going to indulge me. I think I've been speaking for about 50 minutes thereabout. Just tell me your top two, everybody. I know I have a lot of people on the call. Please, let's go to the chat room. Tell me your top two here that you think your company, your department really needs to focus on. What will be the top two for you? Quickly, everybody, the chat room. I like to read from you so that this conversation is not just a single conversation. I like to read mono conversation so that it's not just a radio type conversation. I like to read from everybody. I will talk about business analysis and some of these things. We will share. We'll share this slide. I've got many slides in there, but because of time, I can't really go through them. But I think I've captured the highlights of this whole thing. So I want to read from everybody. Thank you very much. Mr. Sheka Alidari says that yes. So Thomas says brand and service. She says brand and customer engagement. Gatti says structure and customer engagement. Albert, great. It's good to have you here, sir. It says number 5 and number 10 for your organization. Fejimi says 4 and 7. Bukola says number 1 and number 5. Great. Ikenna says profit and customer. Number 10, number 1 and number 10. Kabina says 2 and 8. Who else is here? Jimmy says number 1 and number 3. Yep. Mr. Ayodele says is number 3 and number 4. All right, good. Any other person? Quickly, can I hear from others? We're going to bring this to a quick close. We always want to do this in about 1 hour, 10 minutes. We never really, it's middle of the day, people need to go back to their day jobs, so we understand that very clearly. And Dr. Kiremi, thank you very much. He says number 3 and number 9, right? I mean, for me, the most important thing is that all of us need to go back and we need to look at our own organizations and ask yourself, how do I need to innovate? In which area? Because you see, this people only think, every time you speak to somebody, they say, oh, innovation. In fact, for a lot of my clients, when you talk about innovation, they only put that innovation in what's that thing department, in the product department, the guys who are doing product. What you can see here from this great book, 10 Types of Innovation, and this is not even completely exhaustive, but I think it does a good job of mentioning 10 key areas. And I've also been able to explain, I believe, key things with regards to this profit model. Once again, the network, the structure, the process, product, and things like that. So that's it really, as it is. In the slide, I have many things. I cannot take the time to do all these explanation, but I think I've given decent. I've spoken about this adequately, and there are many things. There's the innovation map, how your own organization wants to think about this, how your own organization wants to apply some of these things. Innovation is not something you just play with. It's a really big deal. And I like this place, everybody, how you make money, connections with others to create value. Network also talks about your partnership models. Yes, that's also a key portion of network. Who are the partners? What should you outsource? What should you insource? Okay, and structure, you can see alignment of talents and assets, process, signature of superior methods of doing your work. Effectiveness and efficiency is around number 4. Right? Product performance, the product system, your service model, your channel, your brand, and your customer engagement. This is critical, everybody. Once again, we'll share the slides with you. I normally would use this for a full-blown 2-3 day training, but because we need to break each one down. If we're doing this internally in an organization, we're going to have to apply it. How will this apply in your own organization? Some of you are from telecoms on the call. Some of you are from banking on the call. People are from all sorts of industries. So you have to go back. On this call, I cannot go through all this in detail, but you have to go back and really think through how this is going to work. So once again, we'll share the slides with you after now. I've been doing this since April. So we did something on corporate social responsibility. We did something on asset management, on compliance. We did something on corporate risk. And today we've been able to do something. We had to move this. I need to update the date on innovation management. So once again, it's our pleasure to be here. We're going to do 2 or 3 critical things before the end of the year. We're going to do something on facility management. I'm going to also have a guest speaker on that particular call. We're also going to do something on climate change. We'll also have a guest speaker on that particular call. And we're also going to do something on anti-bribery and whistleblowing. And there's certain ISO standards that are tied to each of these things. We have a YouTube channel. Maureen, please show us your face. Maureen does all the great work of organizing these webinars. And today is her birthday. So Maureen, where are you? As it is. So any questions, thoughts as we bring this to a close? Maureen, where are you? It's your birthday. Let us sing happy birthday for you if possible. Yes, we're going to share the slides with everybody that is registered and that is on this particular call. Mr. Ayodele, I think business analysts are key. I mean, and that's the thing. I really do think this whole thing, at the very heart of it, you must have business analysis skills. Let me draw a line between who has a full-time job or full function as a business analyst and who must have business analysis skills. Those are 2 different things in themselves. Who is a business analyst versus who must have business analysis skills. I think all of us, not that I think actually, I take that back. All of us, I know all of us must have business analysis skills. Everybody. And I have a slide that talks about business analysis skills. I can show it in 1 second. All of us that are on this call must have business analysis skills. business analysis skills is not only for people who do business analysis as a function or as a day job. I think everybody who works in any organization, I think all organizations should make business analysis part of their onboarding training. Yes, I have a quick slide, and I think this will be useful for everybody. So everybody have a quick look. Look, you can take a screenshot, right? I think business analysis skills are for everybody, and everybody. Oh, sorry, every staff in an organization, everybody that you do as part of your onboarding as an organization, you should take a screenshot and you should ensure that part of your onboarding training, people go through business analysis skills, right? So these are the competencies according to the business analysis body of knowledge. And I don't think this competences belong to only a few people, maybe people who have a day job, a compulsory day job as a business analyst. No, that's not it. All of us should have these skills in these 6 competence categories. Everybody. In fact, for most organizations, as I said, this should be part of your onboarding. You need to take your staff, your professional staff, through these things. All staff in every department needs to have analytical thinking and problem-solving skills. The behavioral characteristics and traits here belong to all staff. Business knowledge belongs to all staff. Communication skills belongs to everybody. Interaction skills belong to everybody. Tools and technologies belong to everybody. So some people will then take their career further and become specialized business analysts. But when it comes to the skill sets and the competencies and the capabilities, in reality, it belongs to all of us. All of us should be business analysts. And I think I'll bring this to a close on that note. Are we good? All right, are we good? Questions, thoughts, opinion as we go home this beautiful afternoon? Questions, thoughts, opinion? Thank you once again, everybody, for your time. We appreciate taking out of your very extensive and busy day to be here. We look forward to seeing you in other sessions. And you have our email address. If you need to, we will send this to everybody that has registered. But in case you don't get it, please send us an email and we'll be happy to share it with you. Thank you very much, and God bless you all. Thank you. Have a beautiful last quarter of the year as it is. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone, thank you very much. Okay, that's the birthday girl. So happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
To you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Oh my God.
Happy
birthday to you. Congratulations, Maureen. Happy birthday to you. Well, happy birthday. Ikenna, it's great to see you. You even look whiter than when you were with us. It's great. It's great to see you. As it is. So once again, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for having us. God bless you all.
Thank you, sir.
And
Bye.